Hello. Guy and I, we're going to read the psychology chapter to you now. Here we go. Let's see. Sorry, you just watch my fan. There we go. So, what is wrong with us and how can we fix it? Good coffee. Sorry, you can probably hear my husband. He's at work. Let me see if I can fix that. Just a little. There we go. All right. Psychology. Eckhart Tolle is one of the best-selling new spiritualist authors of all time. His 2 books and multiple appearances on widely viewed programs such as The Oprah Winfrey Show turned him into a spiritual phenomenon. On the Watkins list of the 100 most popular spiritual teachers in the world, Tolle was long ranked number 1. And yet if you saw Tolle on the subway, you probably wouldn't recognize him. A small, unassuming man, Tolle seems almost unnaturally comfortable with silence. At the beginning of his speeches, he sits on a stool and stares across the audience for several minutes, not saying a word. When he does begin talking, Tolle seems hesitant, as if the selection of each word carries grave consequences. One certainly gets the impression that chatty banter is not this man's style. None of this is by accident. Tolle calls his silent gazing at his audience practicing presence. By this he means contemplating his oneness with the audience and ridding himself of ego. To Tolle's way of thinking, the central problem with humanity is imagining our existence as separate individuals. Instead, we are all together one collective soul. The sooner we recognize this, the sooner we can begin the healing we so desperately desire. So remember, the book said Tolle is a new spiritualist, and this is, that's what it's describing. Tolle says using the word I tricks people into thinking they have personalities and souls, separate from all other souls. This, for Tolle, is an enormous problem, he says. The word I embodies the greatest error and the deepest truth, depending on how it is used. In conventional usage, it is not only one of the most frequently used words in the language, together with the related words me, my, mine, and myself, but also one of the most misleading. In normal everyday usage, I embodies the primordial error, a misperception of who you are, an illusory sense of identity. This is the ego. Tolle sees the ego as the source of our problems, including illness. Amazingly, but not infrequently, the ego, in search of a stronger identity, can and does create illnesses in order to strengthen itself through them. Tolle and other spiritual teachers like him recognize a key truth. There is something wrong with us. We are unsettled. We need fixing. Whoever and whatever we are needs healing and restoration. Psychology is the study of who and what we are, as well as how we develop as human beings, personally and socially. Psychology follows theology. Our understanding of God has massive implications for the discipline of psychology, starting with the question of whether there even is any kind of reality outside of the material world. In fact, the word psychology itself implies this sort of order. The word psyche is Greek for soul. Psychology literally means the study of the soul. This implies that there is an immaterial or spiritual aspect of reality that must be understood. Theologian Wayne Grudem says, Scripture is very clear that we do have a soul that is distinct from our physical bodies, which not only can function somewhat independently of our ordinary thought processes, but also when we die, is able to go on consciously acting and relating to God apart from our physical bodies. While Christianity acknowledges the existence of the soul, 3 of the worldviews we are studying, secularism, Marxism, and postmodernism, deny it, and 1, New Spirituality, denies the existence of individual souls. Because of this fundamental difference in belief, there is quite a worldview conflict in psychology. As with the other disciplines, psychology offers a way of discovering meaning. Theology says clear thinking about God points the way. Philosophy says a precise understanding of reality and knowledge is the answer. Sorry, that was philosophy says a precise understanding of reality and knowledge is the answer. Ethics says the pursuit of the good life is most important. Biology says understanding the nature of life will give us the answers we seek. Each discipline has its cheerleaders, those who in good nature argue that their disciplines are best. In reality, no one discipline is better than the others. All are at their best when in the pursuit of truth. Section 2, the self is the new soul. We are searchers for truth, but who are the we doing the searching? What does it mean to be a person? What kinds of things go wrong with persons, and how might we help them heal? Psychologist Rollo May said, "Today we know a great deal about bodily chemistry and the control of physical diseases, but we know very little about why people hate, why they cannot love, why they suffer anxiety and guilt, and why they destroy each other." The psychologist knows physical health isn't the only thing. People can be physically healthy and still miserable, but what more is there? To Christianity, the question of being is central. There are different aspects of our being. We are theological beings, philosophical beings, ethical beings, biological beings, psychological beings, and so forth. Christians see psychology, when done from a standpoint of biblical truth, as opening up and examining the idea of being, so we can better understand ourselves and live together with others. Psychologists see what they do as a science. They try to use the scientific method to understand people. One of psychology's heroes, Carl Rogers, said, "True science will explore the private worlds of interpersonal meanings in an effort to discover lawful and orderly relationships there. In this world of inner meanings, it can investigate all the issues which are meaningless for the behaviorist: purposes, goals, values, choice, perceptions of self, perceptions of others, the personal constructs with which we build our world, the responsibilities we accept or reject, the whole phenomenal world of the individual with its connective tissue of meaning." Notice Rogers' choice of the word self rather than soul. The self, said philosopher Alan Bloom, is the modern substitute for the soul. Ironically, the idea of an immaterial soul as the seat of our personal identities does not have much of a home in the world of psychology, though the word itself means the study of the soul. Reflecting on how the shift came about, Bloom suggested that society's earlier preoccupation with the soul inevitably led to neglect of this world in favor of the other world, giving the priest, as the guardian of the soul, increased influence. Machiavelli from 1460 and Thomas Hobbes 1651 lashed back against the idea of the soul by talking about a feeling self. Machiavelli and Hobbes blazed the trail to the self, which has grown into the highway of a ubiquitous psychology without the psyche. In the 1700s, the French political theorist Jean-Jacques Rousseau thought the focus on the self had degenerated into individual self-interest, an insufficient base for establishing the common good. In one sense, he was right. If there is no God's eye view of what constitutes the individual soul, it is easy to stop pursuing the good of our individual souls. The common purpose to which our souls unite becomes lost. People stop communicating. Their communities become moral ghost towns. People live aimlessly because they have no cause for which they are willing to die. The cry of the populace is, "Just leave me alone." Perhaps the ultimate hell is that the wish will be granted. While it may seem merely a matter of semantics that self neatly replaces soul, we believe there is an important distinction. From a Christian viewpoint, what we have now is the negative aspect of self: self-absorption, self-focus, self-interest, and just plain selfishness. We need our souls reclaimed and ourselves renewed. Obviously, other worldviews disagree with both Christianity's diagnosis and proposed cure. Christianity has been a negative influence, some say. We're better off now. Professor Craig Gay from Regent College is one of the growing number of philosophers and psychologists who think only the idea of the soul, not the self, is robust enough to restore our society to health. He says, indeed, unless we directly contest the distinctively modern understanding of the self, our resistance to the modern secular society will probably be construed and may actually result either in yet another expression of ideological manipulation or in yet another eccentric expression of the triumph of the therapeutic. Christian psychology isn't the sanitizing of the self, it is the salvaging of the soul, which is not incidental to our humanness but fully representative of it. Only when we acknowledge spiritual reality will we gain true insight and true healing. As William Kilpatrick says, in short, although Christianity is more than a psychology, it happens to be better psychology than psychology is. So let's begin our tour of how the worldviews under our consideration use and abuse psychology. And we're going to stop there.